Stage 31 of the Masked Carnival against the Mimic Gogo is usually going to be one of, if not the hardest stages for new blue mages to overcome. But with the increase to level 80 and the access to new spells, completing this challenge along with getting the secret achievement has never been easier. And so here's a quick guide to finishing Stage 31 Anything Gogos. As will always be the case when talking about anything Blue Mage, let's begin with the spells that you're going to want. And again, as always, the first spell that you'll want is Etheric Mimicry, specifically for healing mimicry for safety, but DPS will work if you're a bit more confident in yourself. After that, you'll need Diamondback, Exuviation, and Flying Sardine to handle specific attacks. For safety, I recommend bringing spells like Palm Cure if you're using healing mimicry, or White Wind if you're using DPS. As for damage, we're going to want to bring all the buffing spells, Bristle, Whistle, Moonflute, and of course, we're also going to need spells to actually take advantage of these buffs, so you'll want to bring things like Tingle, Triple Trident, Sea Shanty, and any other primal or raid spells. But most importantly, you're going to want to bring Breath of Magic and ideally Night Bloom, as these two spells are going to make up a large portion of our damage. With the spells out of the way, let's get into the fight. So to start the fight, we're going to use our Bristle followed by Moonflute, and while we're walking to the boss, we'll use Swift Cast to make our Breath of Magic instant. And then we'll use Night Bloom along with as many OGCDs as we can before he finishes casting Mimic, at which point we want to stop attacking, because until his Mimic debuff disappears, he'll counter any attack, almost always killing you. Thankfully, this doesn't trigger off dot damage, so not only are we going to be able to do a sizable amount of damage during this period, but since we used Moonflute earlier, we aren't going to be attacking anyways. Eventually, Gogo will stop doing his little dance, at which point he'll use his first real attack, where he'll drop 3 large AoEs, one after another. Before he finishes the cast, you'll want to use your sprint, and as long as you keep moving, you should be able to dodge these with little effort. After the third AoE, you'll want to go back to damage him, making sure to use your Flying Sardine when he casts Imp Song. Once again, once we've interrupted the song, we're going to use Whistle and Tingle, at which point he will begin to cast Doom Impending. You need to make sure to heal yourself to max health before this cast finishes, or you will die. Once you've done that, you're going to do another Moonflute burst using a Triple Trident, which we preemptively buffed earlier, followed by a Bristle buffed Breath of Magic, and then whatever damage spells you can use before he finishes his next Mimic cast. At this point, Gogo will summon a clone that's going to do 2 cone AoEs every time he uses his own line AoE. However, it's around this time that he should die, and we move on to the next part of the fight. We're going to start Phase 2 doing essentially the same thing as Phase 1, using Bristle plus Moonflute followed by Swift casted Breath of Magic, and lastly Night Bloom along with any other damaging spells that we have access to at that moment. However, unlike Phase 1, you'll want to make sure to start moving away from Gogo very early, making sure to stop moving and attacking before he finishes the cast of fire, as this will put the Pyretic debuff on you, causing any action you take to inflict heavy damage. Immediately after this, he'll also cast Blizzard, which is a point-blank AoE, and this is the reason that we moved out earlier. Next, he'll use Thunder, which is a lingering AoE that is easy to avoid, followed by a Flare, which is a heavy-hitting attack that you'll want to use Palm Cure to heal. After that, you'll want to use Whistle and Tingle, at which point Gogo should start casting Holy, which is basically the same thing as Flare. Use Palm Cure to heal the damage, and then go into another Moonflute burst, starting with the Triple Trident that we buffed earlier, and then a Bristle buffed Breath of Magic, and then any other damaging spells you have access to at that moment. Before your Moonflute finishes, you want to make sure to use Palm Cure to top yourself off for the next mechanic, Meteor. The arena is going to be filled with several small AoEs, followed by a radial AoE, and then 2 large AoEs on the opposite side of the radial. To handle the first set, you're going to go opposite of the radial, and then when the big AoE spawn, move to the furthest safe spot to avoid everything. Once the first radial goes off, the second will appear alongside the second set of big AoEs, except this time, the sides will be reversed. So move to the opposite side, going as far as you can while still avoiding the big AoEs. Lastly, when the second radial goes off, or the second that you see the unavoidable AoE, you'll want to make it to the center, where you're going to use Diamondback to avoid death. And now we move on to the most annoying part of the fight, Charybdis. Gogo is going to summon a couple of tornadoes that, be warned, are bigger than they appear. He'll follow this first set with an Ice Storm, which will place both a dot and a slow that you'll want to get rid of immediately with Exuviation, and he'll then create another 2 tornadoes, and that's where the difficult part of this fight begins. Immediately after creating the second set of tornadoes, Gogo is going to cast 3 back-to-back thunders, all of which leave lingering AoEs. Because of this, we're going to place each one of these between the different different sets of tornadoes, starting with whichever tornadoes are closest to Gogo. Again, be careful when doing this because as mentioned earlier, the tornadoes are bigger than they appear. Once you place your last thunder, you'll want to head to the last set of tornadoes where you'll do nothing because Gogo is going to finish this part off by casting an ice and fire followed by a flare and holy. But it's around this point that Gogo should die, or at the very least should be below 14%, which is in kill range for a fully buffed final sting. And as long as you didn't get a single Vuln stack, you'll not only have completed the stage, but you'll also get the achievement. Now hopefully this guide helped you get your clear, and if it did, then please consider liking the video and possibly subscribing to the channel so you know when I release new content. You also might want to consider checking out one of my other videos like this one going over how to do Shadowbringers dungeons solo, which will help you get some powerful spells like Sea Shanty. Also feel free to ask any questions you may have in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them if able. But with all that being said, thank you for watching and I wish you the best of luck on your Blue Mage journey.